They were tortured by their abductors. After several hours in captivity, they have been set free, and there are over 20 students of the University of Buea in the crisis-hit southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. We shall be telling you more in this newscast. And Cameroon's Minister of Transport bans tens of interurban transport companies across the country for various flaws. Details will be coming up next. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. I was talking in the headlines about students of the University of Buea, over 20 of them who were abducted by some unidentified gunmen in the southwest regional chieftown, Buea, and they have been set free. They were severely tortured, as Derek Jato reports from Buea.
They were released at about 9:41 p.m. yesterday, around small support. At the moment, we don't know where all of them are, but there's also say some are still at the hospital. They were 20 in number, and most of them suffered torture. We have images of them having bushes, an indication that they were malhandled. They themselves, the analysts of the University of Buea, confirmed to us that they were forced to sing what the separatists call the Amber Anthem. Those who did not know it, they faced double punishment, and they told them not to come to school, because if next time they will be abducted, they will be forced to join the separatist fighters. So that is the situation here. We learned that as of that yesterday, they were taken to the center, that is Global Institute. It is an institute to accommodate the separatists that disarmed. That Global Institute here in Buea. And after that, the hospital of the Buea, that's the director of the Buea Regional Hospital, came for medical checkup, and they are later ferried to the Buea Regional Hospital. The students themselves don't know how much have been fed, because all their communication tools were seized. I'm talking about telephones, and it was the separatists that were communicating with their parents. So that is what gathered out of this up to this hour. But the good news to the University of Buea is that their students and their analysts have been released. But as to whether they have moral fitness to see there is another question, because physically they have been traumatized. The release took place without any intervention of the military forces, I must say, but it was the intervention of the Kabetiku, the Secretary General of Human Rights and Freedom of the Southwest region, that mediated or played a lead role for the release of the students.
Derek Jato reporting from the southwest regional chieftown, Buea, and one of the students spoke to our correspondent, Derek Jato. We kept his identity secret for security reasons. Take a listen.
The workers who always work on campus, because on that particular day, we were going for training, we saw some other guys clearing the campus, so we thought probably it was just another set of workers going to join their friends to work to clear precisely. But just for us to realize, they removed these mundane guns, these traditional hunting guns. They removed it. Two others had pistols and one other had a dagger. And they took all our bags, took all our phones, and they asked us to move on the straight line, 20 of us precisely. And when we got exactly to the end of the pitch, where we were supposed to start moving towards the bushes, we were blindfolded. And we just saw ourselves entering bikes, crossing little streams, and about 30 minutes or more. At one point in time, we were running with our eyes covered. So we don't know exactly what we were taking, but when we got there, the blindfolds were taken off, and whatever we had seen in our bags happened to us at that time. And from then on, they gave us food, they were friendly to us, they were communicating, playing with us, we actually played cards together. They made us feel like we were brothers. And thankfully to our father, Tametiku, who came and rescued us this evening.
Do you know the people who did that?
Yeah, we know the Amba boy.
No, what do you mean by Amba boys?
They say the Amazonian soldiers, as they say.
Is that what they say?
Yes.
But when they tortured you people, what did they say?
They said it was just to pass on a message to the rest. It was just to pass on a message to the rest of the students and
How many of you were there?
probably 20 of us.
Okay, thank you.
What message? What message?
The message precisely was that no school. And they said, and amongst us we had 3 francophones, and those were the ones who had the most torture amongst us.
One of the students of the University of Boya speaking there to Derek Jato. And Derek Jato equally spoke to the director of the Boya Regional Hospital, Dr. George Eno Orok Enonchong. Some of the students were, of course, taken to the Boya Regional Hospital for medical attention after they were released. Here's an extract of what Dr. Orok Enonchong told a Boya-based correspondent, Derek Jato.
This opportunity to talk on the health state of the students who were abducted and later released. As at yesterday, the 21st of March 2019, at about 9 p.m., we were informed that the students who had been abducted had been released and were in a certain location. Immediately we were privy to this information. We dispatched our ambulance, which went and brought in the students to our outpatient and emergency unit, and the students were examined, treated, and hospitalized. There are 20 male students ranging in age between 17 and 24, all able-bodied young men who were found with various severities of injuries, mostly on the backs and on their soles. Injuries consistent with lesions due to blunt force trauma. And these injuries are abrasions, they are lacerations, they are contusions, mostly on their backs. And so we gave them treatment and hospitalized them, and they are continuously receiving treatment. This morning, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Boya visited them and had a word of encouragement and camaraderie with them. And what we have done is that we have ensured that the students, one, are taken.
That was Dr. George Eno Orok Enonchong, director of the Boya Regional Hospital, speaking there to a correspondent in Boya, Derek Jato. And as you heard, the students are still under medical attention in that health amenity in the Southwest Regional Chieftain, Boya. On to something else now. The Minister of Transport of the Republic of Cameroon has banned tens of transport companies in different regions of the country. He issued some statements in which he highlighted the fault committed by the different companies and the reasons why they have been banned, as Smanjikan Gabriel reports.
The center, littoral and west regions are the most touched after the decision of the Minister of Transport to suspend some travel agencies in 9 out of 10 regions of Cameroon. The decision taken by Ngale Bibehejang Enes Masina, March 21, 2019, comes after an inquiry team made up of technicians within the Transport Ministry descended to the field for purposes of identification of agencies. If the Far North region had just 2 agencies suspended, just like the North region, Southwest comes with 3 suspended agencies, while the East region saw 4 travel agencies suspended. South region has 5 agencies and Northwest recorded a total of 6 agencies which were suspended. The most hit regions are the Center region with 24 agencies, Littoral region with 23 agencies, and the West region 19 agencies. According to the ministerial decision that suspended the traveling agencies, it stated they refused to identify themselves even though they were given 1 month 15 days of grace. Only the Adamawa region escaped from the sledgehammer of the transport minister Ngale Bibehejang Enes Masina.
And Innocent, as they visited some of the companies banned here in the economic capital, Douala, and this is what he brought back. Innocent, as with the report on the situation of activities in some of the companies banned by the Minister of Transport. He visited some of the companies here in the economic capital, Douala, and now reports.
Transport agencies to the field in Douala. National Voyage is one of the agencies concerned. Activities are ongoing normally. We were told the first bus kicked off in the morning. Questioning if they were violating government's order, the agency personnel note they were not notified with the decision. Visiting Guarantee Express also suspended. The response is the same. They were never notified. Esomba, Chief of Service at Guarantee Express, Douala, believes government would have simply pasted the notification or sealed the agencies as usual. He adds that it is solely the Bamenda branch that received the suspension because some technical and administrative documents were not procured. That the manager told him the Yaoundé and Douala branches had already obtained identification documents.
Il avait déjà fait pour l'agence du centre et l'agence du littoral du moins de Douala.
Every transport agency defends self as it can. At Princess Voyage, authorities talk of an error on the part of the Minister of Transport.
Nous avons appris par la voie officielle, mais pas des rumeurs.
They say the agency had met with all requirements since announcement for identification was made.
Surtout pour l'agrément en matière de transport. Nous avons donc fourni tout ce qu'ils ont demandé.
In total, 87 interurban transport agencies are ejected from the sector by this ministerial suspension.
Several localities in the Republic of Cameroon are still hit by chronic water crisis despite government's efforts to step up the supply of water across the Republic of Cameroon. And the problem of water is felt by citizens in urban and rural centers, even as Cameroon joins the rest of the world to commemorate the World Water Day. Details in this report by Fomi Armstrong Sander.
Access to potable water remains a major problem across Cameroon, several years after the country engaged with Millennium Development Goals, which had, among other objectives, water and sanitation. The difficult access to potable water with its consequent negative effects makes life difficult in both rural and urban Cameroon. In rural communities like Mbanga in the Mongo division of the Littoral region, people go for several years without potable water.
There is no water in Mbanga. It's more than 3 years today we don't have water. It's just of recent that water come. But water come in Katiset in quarter 7, just for a few days, and now there is no water.
In major cities like Douala, the situation is most embarrassing as inhabitants even go for longer periods without water supply, like the case of Belabu, a locality in Douala 5 subdivision.
We have not yet get water for 6 years now for Bonabu.
Cameroonians are also forced to drink from doubtful sources, exposing themselves to waterborne disease. Be it in towns or cities, poor management, coupled with inadequate political will, rapid urbanization and legislative lapses have been blamed for the water problem. Question on what it is doing within its role as provider of basic social amenities, the government through its officials in the water and energy sector, who gathered in Douala within the context of the World Water Day, believe that what Cameroonians need is sensitization.
D'abord dans l'objectif de la sensibilisation. Ça, c'est le premier grand objectif.
According to Noah Evele, Littoral Regional Delegates of Water and Energy Resource, the gathering which took place in the campus of the University of Douala also had as objective to give visibility to the different actors in the water supply chain.
That was for me, Armstrong Sander, reporting there. And on our health page in this edition of the news, we talk about tuberculosis ahead of the 2019 day set aside for the fight against this health problem. We're going to be taking a look at the causes of the killer disease and preventive measures with Immaculate Fogwe.
Tuberculosis is one of the world's deadliest diseases. This disease is caused by bacteria known as Mycobacterium tuberculosis that most often affects the lungs. It is spread from one person to another through the air after an uninfected person inhales a few of these germs from an infected person. About 1/4 of the world's population has latent tuberculosis, which means people have been affected by the tuberculosis bacteria but are not yet ill with the disease and cannot transmit it. When a person is being affected by the ailment, symptoms such as cough, fever, night sweats, and weight loss are being perceived. Those who have a high vulnerability risk of incurring this ailment are HIV and AIDS patients, and the reason why the malaise has not been eradicated for the past years is explained by Dr. Adeline Wanji.
The first causes is HIV. You know that HIV is the first, tuberculosis is the first infection when you have HIV. So that is the main reason. We have to change our hygiene, the way we are living. So we have to ameliorate our environment.
She equally explains the different measures taken to eradicate the infection and the different ways on how it could be prevented.
Yes, as I said, we have the quarter of the whole cases in the Cameroon. So what we have done to ameliorate the prevalent rate, we have intensified case funding. That is one of our activities. It means that we are going to public to help to facility who are not public and those who are private to check TB.
In commemoration of the World Tuberculosis Day, which will be celebrated on the 24th of March 2019, a press conference was convened in economic capital Douala, wherein participants were briefed on the statistics on the rate of tuberculosis infections in the littoral region. It should be noted that, according to Check Tobacco Cameroon, tuberculosis treatment is free.
Out of Cameroon, at least 50 persons have died and several others injured after two buses collided in central Ghana. This information has been made public by the police, and the crash happened in the Kitambo town, 430 kilometers north of the capital, Accra. That was last night, and emergency services earlier today were still on the scene, rescuing passengers still trapped inside the two vehicles. Each bus had about 50 passengers on board, and one of the vehicles caught fire after the collision. Most of the passengers in both vehicles died on the spot, and a police spokesperson said a number of new or a number of persons have been rescued, and of course that is after the accident that occurred in central Ghana. That's it for the first part. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in Talking Point. We are receiving a former member of Cameroon's lower house of parliament, the national president of the Progressive Movement political party, Honorable Jean Shagekindi. You're welcome.
Thank you, and also I say hello to televiewers.
What's your analysis of what is happening today in the northwest region and southwest region of the country, notably referring to the phenomenon of abductions, the last case being that of over 20 students of the University of Buea who were released last night?
My opinion is that this is completely and totally unacceptable. We cannot be a normal republic, a normal society, and admit then we have some of our compatriots being kidnapped by some people we don't exactly know who they are, and then they release them after torture, and tomorrow they'll start again. We cannot accept it. And what I can say is that I don't understand quite well the strategy used. Till now, we don't have any state of emergency in this area. If you don't have a state of emergency, it means that things are normal. But you can't consider that things are normal when they are kidnapping people, when they are beating them, when they are shooting them. You have to take the tools necessary for you to come and over this crisis. And we hope that it will be done quite rapidly. And second, when you listen about this crisis, it looks like the time has stopped. I mean, the statements, the analysis made 2 or 3 years ago are still the same, while the crisis is just going farther and farther. I myself have some of my people whose son has been kidnapped, which I couldn't imagine. So I believe that a very, very serious analysis and effort must be made so that we stop this type of thing.
And some observers are putting question marks on some of the cases of abduction. For instance, the students of the University of Buea were picked up in the stadium of the that academic institution not far from the campus around my 16. That is not far from the Buea central town. And with the tight security put in place, security forces parading the whole place, kidnappings are still going on.
Yeah, you know, the thing is a matter of responsibility. Look at what happened in France. In France, the Yellow Jackets made a violent demonstration last Saturday. Quite immediately, chief of police and his people were sacked because it's a matter of responsibility. If we have people responsible of security in Buea, knowing that games are to be taken, are to take place, they have to take a measurement to avoid this type of thing. If they are not able to do it, just look for some other competent people. But you cannot keep the same people and see the same disasters made day after day. There's something which we cannot understand. Somebody has to be responsible for that. The Buea games were not just hidden. Everybody in Buea knew that it was to be. So how can they organize themselves in a way that they come and kidnap the students who just came for these games? Somebody has to be kept responsible, and we have to look for somebody else who we hope will be more efficient.
And recently, the president of the National Commission on Human Rights and Freedoms was questioning why it's difficult to identify those who are committing the atrocities in the 2 Anglophone regions of the country. Accusing fingers are coming from both sides. We have the government accusing the separatist fighters, and sometimes the separatist fighters saying, no, we're not involved in this, we have nothing to do with this. And we have the population also sometimes accusing the security forces of one thing or the other.
You know, in my opinion, people have to be held responsible. If the government accuses the separatists, they must bring evidence of that. If they don't bring evidence, of course, the separatists can say, it's not me. But what does it mean? It means that administration is no more controlling sufficiently this area. This is why so many people are ready to intervene, and you don't know. You don't know if they are hijackers. You don't know if they are bandits. You don't know if they are separatists. You don't know if they are the army. You don't know, because no real control is made. And you don't take the tools for you to have this serious control.
And the question is, government has been taking a series of measures, undertaking some effort to bring the situation under control. But for close to 3 years now, the situation has continued deepening. What explains that?
The point is that the crisis now is not only multidimensional, but even total. You have a crisis of security, crisis in the families, crisis in economy, crisis in living together. So, therefore, when a crisis is so general, one set of measures won't be sufficient. What we have seen by now, we have seen a real effort in security and defense. This is one aspect. We have seen goodwill, like this committee of living together and so on. Good. And from time to time, some talks. It's not enough. It means that the problem is very serious. And most of us know that the root of this problem is that the majority of Anglophones are asking for federalism.
All right, majority.
If you avoid this debate, you won't find any solution. Debate about that.
Federalism should be put on the discussion table. Now, in the National Assembly, the government has continued with its policy of decentralization, notably with the putting in place of regional councils, and the bill has been tabled in Parliament. What's your take on that?
I think this is a step forward. It's the first step. But I'm completely convinced that it wouldn't stop this turmoil. But it's a step forward. I hope that many people will be accepting and devoting themselves, because the government made an effort for that. And the second point is, how are they going to implement it? Because saying or taking a bill is one thing. Implementing this bill is another thing. And third, this bill is comprised inside a frame of decentralization in this law of 2004. Well, they stated exactly which powers will be left to regions, which powers will be left to municipalities, and how is going the government to control the powers he has already decentralized. It's a way of doing it, but we are not quite sure that it will bring to the solution expected. But to come back to your question, it's a step forward. We say, okay, it's good. Now implement it correctly. It will be better. But don't forget that as far as people are really stuck to one point of organization of their lives, like federalism, sooner or later, you'll have to decide on it. And once the decision is made, okay, look at Belgium. Belgium decided to go federal in 1970.
All right. Honorable Jean-Jacques Ekinti, former member of Cameroon's lower house of parliament, national president of the Progressive Movement political party. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.